Okay, I wrote down just one thing, which you know how I do the in which. I preloaded one on my pad. It
Hmm.
says in which Charles rambles on about Spider-Man for an hour. Star-crossed lovers have a child. Interstellar war. Battle for the baby. Welcome to Hav and Charles Talk Comics. This is Charles, and I'm sitting here with Hav, and we're here today to talk about Spider Island and Saga. Hey, Hav, how you doing?
I'm good, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. As you could tell by the 87 takes it took me to start this podcast today.
I think it was only 79. I didn't count some of those early ones.
Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. When I
So,
when I was working on my mic levels earlier, I was doing introductions on it too. So I was recording myself, Hav and Charles Talk Comics. Actually, I was introducing myself as, "Hi, this is Charles of Hav and Charles Talk Comics." Sans Hav, doing a microphone test. So
Hob's on vacation this week. I'm going to be doing the podcast by myself and talking to myself. Welcome.
it'll just be like another day at my house, me talking to myself, and even me not being interested.
Yeah,
I
podcast 11, episode 10 of talking just straight up comic books.
That's right. This is our 11th podcast, our 10th with just the two of us. Just the two of us. You can make it if we try, just the two of us. Uh-oh.
You and I. Did it freeze?
Oh, no, I was saying uh-oh because I thought maybe that was too much of that song and we might get sued.
Ah, okay. Bring it. So,
Uh,
yeah, you suggested Spider Island.
hmm
And I suggested Saga, Image comic, and interestingly, as you pointed out, I don't know if you were recording, rolling tape, as they say in the biz. Is this the first time you've suggested something that is, albeit slightly older than what I suggested for you to read?
Yes, it is. You pointed that out before we officially started the podcast, that I was the creepy old guy suggesting old stuff. I don't know why you put it that way, but that's fine.
Right.
And yours was new and hip, and mine was old and tired.
Well, the creepy old guy, because you're doing this Winnie the Pooh style without any pants on, right?
You can't know that.
Well, you
All
don't
you
know.
can see is basically the top of my head and a little bit of the microphone.
You're not denying it, though. See, that's a tell right there.
I'm just saying you have no idea. I will stand up and show you. Do you want to take that dare?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
You called my bluff.
I thought I did.
You more than did.
No,
More than did.
so I do want to apologize to everyone that listened to the last podcast because the sound levels were all jacked up, but I did get them jacked up in the opposite direction from where we normally have them, where Hav was louder than me. So that was a nice treat for y'all. You're welcome. I don't know if it's that noticeable if you actually listen to it. That was just me editing what my takeaway.
All right. Well, hey, Spider Island, man.
Yes.
I hated it.
Oh, well, okay. That's a strong take. I can't wait to Hav is laughing right now away from his microphone. I can't wait to hear why, because
I'm joking. I'm sorry. I just wanted. I've been thinking of. Oh my god. Oh, yeah. No, it was good. It was good. It was fun. It was long. The collection I read had all the ancillary. It had the prologue, epilogue, the tie-ins, which was fine. But
I thought, did you not get the one from Hoopla?
I did, but it seemed it was over 300 and something, 350 something pages that I read.
Oh yeah, then it didn't have all the ancillaries.
Okay.
Because
All right.
there was some Avengers stuff in there. There was some other.
Okay.
You no, there were that was a. There was some stuff you didn't read. You don't read the little boxes where they talk about. To find more about this, check New Avengers or whatnots and whose house. Oh, okay.
No.
I'm reading right now on Marvel Unlimited. They're doing an event called Heroes Reborn, and it's Squadron Supreme is instead of the Avengers in the 616, and they are having a blast on the extra comics with the going back in time and doing Young Squadron and all of the little, especially from in the 80s when they would do all the check out episode, there it was, check out issue 56 to find the original story. And it's really good. At some point, we might read that once it's all done.
Cool.
Because I know you like the Squadron Supreme, and I think it's well, my views were very clear.
Yes.
So, you liked it. I obviously liked it. I guess we can move on to Saga.
Yeah, well, okay, that was quick. Wow. Okay, so Saga came out the next year. So this came out, Spider Island came out in 2011. Saga came out in 2012. No. So Dan Slott was the writer for Spider Island for all of it, or just, I guess, all of it. And then the artist I saw a lot of was.
Dan Slott wrote the Spider-Man ones.
Okay.
The Venom writer wrote the Venom ones. So
And I didn't take note who was writing the Venom
that's
ones.
okay.
I'm sorry.
It's Venom.
And then
Nobody cares.
A lot of the art on Amazing was done by Humberto Ramos.
Yes, he's very good.
You know what? And I remember him doing some X-Men stuff back when I was still picking up monthlies. Not being look, different art styles for, different artists have different styles. For some reason, it didn't click with me on, I think it was Uncanny back then that he was doing, maybe, and I may be completely wrong about this, Charles. But for Spider-Man, it just hit really well. I liked it a lot. I liked the art, and yeah, it was good. Just to get into it, the Jackal decides to make Manhattan Island a spider island, therefore the name, and infects the populace with bed bugs that give everybody, at first, really cool spider powers.
Yeah, everybody that gets infected gets to be Spider-Man, and they're really excited about it. Throughout, I mean, and it is one person after the other gets spider powers, except Mary Jane, who is just, wait, what the ever-loving, I'm the one that knows he's Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I've been with Peter Parker forever, and I don't have spider powers.
Well, and then at the end, it's Mr. Fantastic, I think, that says, hey...
Well, you're just jumping right in again. See, I pulled you off sides. I wanted to see if you were going to just give it away there.
No, I'm going to give it away. You brought it up. It's organic. You brought it up, MJ being one of the last ones, if not the last one on the whole.
Oh, no, I said she didn't get it. And then you're like, no, I'll do it. Anyway, yes.
Oh, well, she does eventually get the powers, and Mr. Fantastic drops the knowledge that it's maybe because of her familiarity with Peter Parker as an ex-girlfriend.
It's the sex.
Sharing a toothbrush.
Yes. Sharing a toothbrush. That's what the kids are calling it.
That she had built up some immunity, and then all of a sudden she gets the powers now.
And kids, I don't care where you put your mouth, you probably still shouldn't share their toothbrush.
All right. That's
the public library. A PSA for
the Jackal, not a character I am terribly familiar with, really at all. You probably more so, given that you're a lifelong Spider-Man fan. But any background that I didn't get from this that maybe I should know?
Okay, the Jackal really bookended opposite sides of my Spider-Man real reading, because Miles Warren was a professor and he became the Jackal. He was a professor and had Peter Parker and
Gwen Stacy.
Thank you. I was blanking on the Spider-Man fridged girl. So they had Gwen Stacy in class, and he had a huge crush on Gwen Stacy, and he was cloning. And he cloned Gwen Stacy in order to have her as his woman, and he also cloned Peter Parker. Unbeknownst to him, Peter Parker was Spider-Man. When he cloned Peter Parker, the clones he makes of Peter Parker have all of Peter Parker's memories, because it's not a blank slate. It's you just get everything up to that point. So you could even think you're the real one. So there's a big battle, and the clone dies, or so we think, and he drops him into a thing, and then into a giant chimney type thing to incinerate the remains. And what came away from that is the fandom kind of got the idea that we don't know which Peter Parker, which one, if the clone won or Peter Parker won. Now, they then later in the 90s, which I didn't read, did the whole clone saga where Ben Reilly, who was the clone that died, has come back to life. And then they figure out that he was actually Peter Parker for a while. And then Peter Parker, that's when you had the Scarlet Spider and all of this stuff that I didn't read. So I haven't read that, so I don't know that much about it. So this is Miles Warren doing all of this stuff. Who's the Jackal. It's interesting because the writer of the original Clone Saga has said no, that clearly Peter Parker was the one that lived. I don't know where everybody got the idea that because it wasn't like explicit
Yeah.
that, but it's comic books, so you can take anything. It's what I've always said to my nephew, especially in movies and stuff. Well, was that character dead? I'm like, well, did you see the body? No, then we don't know. It just depends on what the writer wants. So that character is either still alive or that character is dead. It just really means whatever the writer wants. So it was ambiguous enough that they were able to play with that. That's what was going on with the Jackal, and he keeps reappearing.
Well, I was going to ask, or just, observing Spider-Man fandom from afar, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like the Clone Saga story from the 90s not well received, kind of panned, not well liked by a lot of folks.
From what I understand, and again, like I said, I didn't read it. I That was a time period where I didn't read any comics. They came out with the Clone Saga, and they started it, and it was incredibly popular, and they were selling a ton. And the writers had a planned arc out, and editorial said, oh my god, no, you guys got to explode this out, we have to do all of this, and we have to just keep pumping out the clone thing. So they did that, and then it just went nutso. It was just, evidently, it's convoluted, it's crazy. They killed Aunt May, except they didn't kill Aunt May. Peter Parker and Mary Jane had a baby, or Mary Jane got pregnant. He passed the mantle to Ben Reilly after Mary Jane and he moved off to, I think, San Francisco or somewhere. Again, didn't read it. And then off we went with a whole new Spider-Man, and I don't even know how they got Peter Parker back in. They didn't have a baby. In different universes, they've run into each other, and they've talked about the daughter that daughter versus the daughter some universes they actually have, because that's the baby she lost. There's so much, and if we ever do read Spider-Verse, you're going to get a whole bunch of some of this stuff going on.
Well, not surprising that editorial and people looking at the numbers are like, hey, this is selling. You ain't stopping. Yeah, that's how you get, again, observing from afar, because I'm not reading monthlies much at all anymore. You get the whole thing in DC now with everything's Batman, apparently. Or
Oh, yeah.
Batman laughs, and now Joker's taking over, and everything's Batman-centric, Joker-centric. It happens. And of course, sometimes to the detriment of the story, maybe. But I just wanted to bring that up, because I do remember that, hearing about that and the disdain some people had for it, at least maybe at the end, or when they went overboard with it. So
I do think that it was twofold. It was the overboard, and then it was taking away Peter Parker. It's changing iconic character into a different character. You run into the same thing when Dan Slott does Superior Spider-Man. They lost their damn mind. We've talked about this. Have we talked about this on the pod yet? I don't know. But when they did Superior Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus become Spider-Man, they played it the way editorial and the writers are supposed to play it, by acting as if, yes, this is going to be a permanent change. And I was laughing at that as all the press was out, and people were like, you can't make Otto Octavius be Spider-Man forever. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and that just changes this so much, and that's wrong, and I can't believe you're doing that, and da-da-da-da-da. And I legit was reading that laughing, going, they're not doing that. This is comic books. They have to tell you they're doing that, and they're getting the response that they're absolutely loving. And then he wrote one of the greatest Spider-Man arcs ever, and the whole time he was clearly bringing it back, because there's some Spider-Verse. Huh?
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say Easter eggs, but go ahead.
Yeah, Easter eggs. Yeah, there's a Spider-Verse tie-in that the Superior Spider-Man, Doc Ock, disappears for a short period of time, and in the actual Marvel Universe, in the comic, it was just for a minute or two and comes back. But later you find out that he was in the whole Spider-Verse in the future.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Like you do.
Yeah. So it was an absolutely incredible... The plotting on all of that was just amazing, trying to keep up with all of that. I think we'll do... Do I want to make you read 2 in a row? I might. Anyway.
Hey, it's your call.
So Spider-Verse, I may have you read... We may just go right into because I told you this might be a long arc for a while on Spider-Man because there's some good stuff in there.
It's your favorite.
It's a superior Spider-Man is worth reading. Anyway, Spider Island. You
Yeah.
get spider powers. Mary Jane got them, and it was cute to see her at parts of it because they're going crazy, and she's like, "All right, Parker, where are you? When are you?" Especially right when she gets it, because she's like, because at that point in the virus, the infection, you go from normal Spider-Man powers into you turn into a giant effing spider, hairy-legged, horrible, terrible thing. And that's happened, and she's in Central Park going, "Oh, where are you? Where are you?" And then bang, she realizes she can save herself because she has spider powers now.
And
And
she's behind the curve than everybody else
yeah,
because she just got the spider powers where you just look like a normal person,
yeah,
but can do all the spider stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, that was fun.
Well, there's also back with the. I feel like all I'm doing is whatabouting and mansplaining Spider-Man. There's a comic arc out of continuity, Future Spider-Man. I think it's called Spider-Man Reign, and it is a Peter Parker is in his gotta be like 60s. He's broken arm. He's old. Mary Jane is dead. Mary Jane is dead. The way they put it is because of all the radioactive. Basically, somebody put it on something I read after I'd read it, and I kind of liked it just as a what if kind of story, but it's his radioactive sperm poisoned her and gave her cancer.
Ah, jeez.
Yeah, it was like, oh my lord. This is I really do think this was kind of a nod towards that kind of joke. No, it actually protected you, and it makes your metamorphosis take more time, and so you did not become a giant spider quite as quickly.
No, let me just jump in here and just say this, or ask this really, because again, you're far more knowledgeable about Spider-Man. In fact, I looked it up. The last time I read Amazing Spider-Man consistently was back in my wheelhouse, mid '80s. Tom DeFalco was the writer, and Ron Frenz was the artist. And I did read up until when Todd McFarlane took over. And I think we both. I don't think on the podcast mentioned we both have somewhere, the famous, now very expensive apparently, issue 300.
It's not that expensive.
Well, more than your average.
Oh yeah,
back issue from back then.
Well, it's Amazing Spider-Man 300, and it's the introduction to Venom. So
right.
It's
Right.
going to be.
Yeah, no, it's going to be. And speaking of Venom, Venom plays a prominent role in this. Venom and is it Anti-Venom?
Anti-Venom, yes. Don't
Who
ask
is
me the backstory on that. I don't know how he became Anti-Venom.
But it's Eddie Brock is
Yep.
Anti-Venom. And now, and this is me, again, not having read Spider-Man in decades, Flash Thompson went to war, lost his legs, and is now symbiotic relationship with Venom, and now is a government agent asset that is, I forget what if they even call him something, Charles. Does he have a code name?
Oh,
that
they
I'm blanking
did,
on?
and I can't remember. They do
can't
call
either.
him something. But
So,
he the way that works, because when I read this originally, I went ahead and read the first issues of that. They have the Venom, the symbiote, not going to do what they want. What symbiote is it?
Symbiote.
Yeah, symbiote, whatever they call it. They had the symbiote. They had the symbiote on a timer because they've evidently done this before, and they know that if you spend too much time with it, it really kind of drives you insane, and you turn into Eddie Brock. It's a dangerous alien thing, and I think at other times he's even this version of the symbiote. When they talk about the planet and what have you, he was put away in the battle world because in that machine because he's mentally defective in some ways. So he's that particular symbiote. So you're on a clock, so he can only stay as Venom for a certain amount of time. And he doesn't have legs. He's in a wheelchair normally, but when he's Venom, he has legs, he has spider powers. And you have to remember, Flash Thompson is Spider-Man's biggest fan.
Right.
He loves Spider-Man. So he very happy to be doing something like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
no, there's
Spencer.
lots. Yeah. Yes. And well, not to just rattle, there are a lot of characters. They do a good job of giving you a fair amount of background so that you know what's going on. Like, for example, when we dive into this, when we start Spider Island, Peter Parker is dating a cop named Carly. Him and MJ are exes at that point.
Yeah, more than just exes. This is after A Brand New Day.
There you go.
Which is the arc that makes everyone forget that Peter Parker came out as Spider-Man during the Civil War. So that's part of his deal with Mephisto, was that he would give up his marriage in order to save Aunt May's life, but then he won't remember that. What he remembers is going to Doctor Strange, who casts a spell, which we're going to see in the not Multiverse of Madness, the Spider-Man Far From Home.
No Way Home. No Way Home.
No Way
right?
Home? Yeah,
I think it's No Way Home.
I think it's No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home, he's going to do that again. He's going to do a similar thing. And that'll make everybody forget he's Spider-Man and not be able to discover he's Spider-Man unless he tells them and removes his mask, which he was very unhappy because during this, Mary Jane comes across, everybody's going nuts, and he's holding a camera for a friend of his who's a reporter, and people are doing all this crazy stuff. There's bad people get this too, and they're going nuts in New York. And he's holding a camera, and Mary Jane comes across him and is kind of like, "Why aren't you doing something?" And the little reporter friend of his is like, "What do you mean? That's Peter." And she's like, "Well, Peter, why aren't you doing something?" And then he finally goes, "Okay, hold on," and hands the camera to MJ, jumps up on a light post in a pure Spider-Man pose, but it's Peter Parker, and says, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker. Just like everyone else in New York, I have spider powers, and as some of you know, I know Spider." He said something. I think I take pictures. I know Spider-Man, and he would want us. We're New Yorkers, and there are more of us that are good than are bad. And off they go. And because he did that, it kind of broke the spell of allowing people to discover it. And his forensic detective girlfriend immediately figures it out. Because
he had not told her that he's Spider-Man, of course.
Well, yeah. Because
he couldn't.
Yeah, well, he felt he couldn't. Although she had gotten a Spider-Man tattoo at one point because Spider-Man had saved her. Yeah. And she got a Spider-Man tattoo. I don't know if you noticed it. You can see it at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that at one point. You're right. I did see that.
And she told him.
Down on the hip.
Yeah, down on the hip. And she told him when she did it, "I hope you're not mad." And he saw it. He's like, "No, I'm good with that."
No, I'm all right. Well, and the reporter friend, just to backtrack a little bit, the reporter friend you're talking about is Nora.
Yes.
I do take notes sometimes.
Okay.
Nora is the reporter friend that is all about the story to the point where it is Robbie Robertson's son, and I'm blanking on his first name, that she's dating, and he's in a pitched fight. He's got spider power too, Robbie Robertson's son, who's, of course, J. Jonah's second in command, and now running the Daily Bugle, apparently.
He owns the Daily Bugle now because comic book stuff has happened in the past. I could go into it, but I'm over-explaining lots of things right now.
No, well, there's a lot of history here. If you're not an avid Spider-Man reader, J. Jonah Jameson's the mayor of New York. Boom. I didn't know that before I read this, that he was the mayor.
Actually, right now, the Kingpin is the mayor of New York.
There you go. Classic Lex Luthor being president of the United States.
Yes.
Perfect. So, but in the middle of this battle, Nora's so into her reporting, and she's a reporter first, and he's in this pitched battle with a new Hobgoblin or Green Goblin. Her boyfriend or wannabe boyfriend Phil is a Hobgoblin.
He is actually he is the Green Goblin. He has some goblin powers. I think he tried to be a good guy when he had the powers. He's got some sonic powers. And now he's going to be a bad guy. He's an assassin for someone. I couldn't remember.
Kingpin.
The Kingpin. Yeah, he's an assassin for the Kingpin.
Yeah.
So.
And Nora's so into her reporting that Robertson, son of Robbie, is in a pitched battle with this guy, and she could have helped him, but no, she's rather record the fight, and he breaks up with her, and then she ends up.
She falls right into the other guy's arms. She's like
Phil, who is the new Green Goblin. So that was an interesting. I'm sure they picked that up after this arc. I would bet dollars or donuts. But
they stopped publishing Spider-Man after this.
Well, shoot, gosh darn it! I guess it wasn't selling well enough. So J. Jonah Jameson, mayor of New York. Aunt May is married to J. Jonah's son.
No.
Whose name?
Father.
No.
J. Jonah's father.
I'm sorry, father. I'm sorry, father. J. Jonah's father. Sorry, because yeah, the age thing.
That's okay.
But I knew that. I don't know why I said that. And his dad's name is like Jay. I think his name is.
He's J. Jonah Jameson Sr.
Oh gosh, duh. But he goes by Jay, and seems like a really nice guy. And right when this is starting, they announced to Peter, Carly, and J. Jonah Jameson that they're moving to Boston because they're getting out of crazy town, New York City, Manhattan.
All this stuff going on because of May has been working for the Feast Foundation, which was run by a multi-millionaire who was actually Mr. Negative, and they got to go, and they're going to go and start. J. Jonah's Jameson's father, Jay Jameson, has money. He's an author, and so he has a lot of money, and they're going to go off. And she said, "Well, let's start our own, do it right with charity for homeless people." And if you play the Spider-Man video game on PlayStation, the Feast, that's in there. Her working there, yeah.
Very cool.
It was a nice addition. Yeah.
And speaking of going back again, a couple of thoughts. Speaking of movies, you mentioned No Way Home, Doctor Strange. We also get at the very beginning and end, interspersed, Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi?
I thought I heard it pronounced recently Shang-Chi. Is it Shang-Chi?
Okay. I may be saying it wrong. My pronunciation is poor.
Well, and he's training Spider-Man in the martial arts. And at the direction of a new Madam Web.
Yeah, new Madam Web. The original Madam Web died in a Craven arc.
Okay.
And she was Arachne before, I believe, was her name. I didn't know. She came in an area where I wasn't reading, so I don't have much backstory on it. But she took over because there has to be a Madam Web, and that'll come up in Spider-Verse if you ever read that. And so she sees the future, and he's being trained, and it's important also that he's doing this because he does not have his spider sense right now.
How did he lose his spider sense? Do you know?
He blew it out. He did it on purpose. I forget exactly what the arc was going on, but something was going on that he had to stop, and the only way he could stop it was to use something that would remove his spider sense at the same time. Matter of fact, his technology to do that comes up later in this because it's the same technology they use to get all of the stuff, all of the spiders from being able to leave the island because they were going to break out because this wasn't going to be Spider Island. This was going to be Spider World, and the big bad in this, whatever her name is,
the Queen.
I've got nothing on her. Evidently, she and Captain America, who used to bang in World War II.
Well, she was a super soldier, apparently.
Yeah,
she was part of the super soldier program.
And she has uber powers, and she was going to take over the world of spiders because she can control those spiders. There was a great scene in that where J. Jonah Jameson gets the spider powers, and he's showing Spider-Man how to do it, and then she realizes, oh, wait a minute, I can change him immediately. So instead of letting him just keep going, she changes him into a giant spider, and then he has to battle a giant giant spider.
Giant.
Yes.
Yeah. J. Jonah Spider monster.
Yeah, and I grabbed one of those pages after it because she's doing the supervillain ranting, and behind her is the Jackal, and she's saying, "A cure on the horizon. Jackal, you swore to me that this was out of their reach, that my victory was assured." "Yeah," says the Jackal. "If you were that worried about winning, when you were controlling the mayor, maybe you should have had him drop the quarantine instead of turning him into a giant spider."
Duh. Hey, and speaking of quarantine and epidemics, so was this on purpose that you did Why the Last Man, which was about a bad epidemic problem, and now you did Spider Island, or was that just completely coincidental or subconscious or what?
If it's anything, it's subconscious.
Okay.
I mean,
because I did think of that.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. You're right. Everything I'm doing right now, it's just, what else can I come up with?
You're going to come up with something else that has to do with some kind of global pandemic or would be global pandemic.
Well, you know how sick we're going to be of global pandemic arc in 3 years because all the screenplays are about what's going on in the quarantine.
Yeah, and I would never go see anything about pandemic epidemic. I want to go see more. Give me more Marvel movies. I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet.
You don't want to see my one-man movie of me sitting in my condo as just Pooh Bearing it the entire quarantine?
No, but I would see the one-man play, stage play. I would be there opening night. Absolutely.
And you would be the only one.
Just me.
It's
just me with
me,
popcorn.
Hav, and me wearing no pants. Just another Saturday night.
Yep. Or Friday night. You never know. You never know. Speaking of great scenes in this, there is a great scene where Peter, as Spider-Man, gets to jump in on a poker game that some of the Avengers are partaking of, and it's just great because apparently now in this time period for Peter, he's working at this Horizon Labs place, and he's also working with the Future Foundation and Mr. Fantastic, and he's making some change. He's making some bank. So I think even somebody says, well, we never invited you because we know you didn't have the money. And then Wolverine kind of pipes in, and plus we didn't want to hear you talk the whole time. I made a point to notate who was there. It was Wolverine, The Thing, Red Hulk, Spider-Woman, Iron Fist, Power Man, and Hawkeye, and Miss Marvel. Apparently back then she wasn't Captain Marvel yet. She was Miss Marvel. And they're all, apparently playing a pretty high stakes poker game. And that Peter stays for like a hand, apparently. But I thought that was a fun scene.
The main reason they didn't invite him, one, more it was the money, and two, they didn't want to play with somebody with spider sense.
Oh, that's right. I think Iron Fist says something like, and you have spider sense, so you know when there's danger.
We're not... Yeah. Why would
we don't invite Professor X to this either, by the way.
We don't allow telepaths either. You can't do that. Yeah, going back to the training, I love that he develops... According to Shang-Chi, they're going to teach him his spider fu because he needs to use what he does, but with martial arts training. And that has been throughout a lot of the Spider-Man. I'm doing my explainy voice again. That he doesn't really have any official training. So at different times, Captain America has trained him to fight a little bit. And he's just done all sorts of... He just has such an innate ability with the spider sense. And he has such strength and agility, he didn't really have to learn to fight that much because he could just dodge punches. He could do things. The thing he has to do the most, which Octavius finds out when he took over his body because he's so angry at him because he just beat him up so much and he pounded him and he had this super strength and he did this, and he realizes that he was way holding back when he would fight him. He can kill you with a punch. If you're a normal person, he could crush your skull. He's
pretty strong.
Yeah, dude can lift a car.
Yeah.
And depending on who's lifted, depending on where he's rated, he's a very strong superhero.
No, so, absolutely.
Going back, you're talking about Spider-Woman. There's also a scene where when Mary Jane gets to Horizon Labs to talk to Mr. Fantastic, because she says, hey, I had to fight my way through and lead all these people that anti-venom was curing people. So she's bringing them through all of the spider-infested New York to the Horizon Labs where they are to protect them. And she swings in, and the Thing looks up and goes, now that's a Spider-Woman.
And Spider-Woman's right there, and she's like, I'm right here. I'm right here. He's like, oh, sorry. Whoops. Well, I'm right here.
Throughout the whole thing, Ben was being kind of creepy about Mary Jane.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, yeah. It's just like, dial it back a bit there, MJ. Yeah, at this point, you were talking about he's at Horizon Labs. He's not only at Horizon Labs, he's on the Avengers. He's also taken Johnny Storm's place because right now Johnny Storm is dead. So he's taken Johnny Storm's place on the Fantastic Four.
Okay.
So he is spread thin.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was
sorry.
That's
my
fine.
headphones were killing me.
Oh no, it's cool. You were holding them off your head by the mic, so I figured if I kept talking, it would come right back through. Anyway,
sorry.
That was our moment of tech. Our moment of tech brought to you by the Public Library.
Yay!
So yeah, no, but Ben, he's like, hey, what's? He saw Spider-Man. What he say? Hey, what's up with Red? Yeah, what happened with you and Red? I'm like, dude, man.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Too bad that didn't work out. You know what I mean? What else? Okay. So of course, I was going to say, I don't know if it's an event book because it's all pretty much contained in spider-centric comic books, it seems like, but there are a lot of characters. There's a cool part where you see Firestorm, a superhero named Gravity that I was not aware of before this. And
there was that great scene with him because gravity can adjust his ability to light and heavy, and heavy. And at one point, Venom shows up, Flash Thompson, and he looks at him and he goes, "So you can adjust your weight, right? Okay, go light," and just flings him up in the air.
yeah,
And so he comes down and crushes the bad guy. But it's just like the guy lands and he's like, "What the hell?"
And with that trio of Firestar and Gravity, there's another Spider Woman, right? Or am I making that up? That's not the same Spider Woman that's on the Avengers. That's a different Spider Woman.
There's some different spider characters.
Yeah.
I did. This is another screenshot I did. Speaking of Firestar, that Spider-Man had come by to help them, and it's a woman you're talking about. It's Iceman, the Gravity Kid, and Firestorm, and the one girl says he makes it look so easy, and Gravity says no, he makes us look useless. So what are we now, babysitters? And Firestar goes, "Cut it out, Greg. It means he trusts us. It means we're Spidey's amazing friends."
Exactly.
I can live with that. And I was like, oh, nice, because she's all this young, but she was who they created to be in Spidey's amazing friends.
Yeah, along with Iceman.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because
Fire and Ice.
Because they couldn't get Johnny Storm because he was supposed to be in other things. There was excuses like, oh no, because they wouldn't be. They don't want kids lighting themselves on fire. The real reason why he wasn't in the Fantastic Four cartoon, they had Herbie instead, and that was the rights were tied up with something else, so they didn't.
Yeah, there's licensing rights.
Yeah, they didn't have the licensing rights to put him in that cartoon, and a lot of people going back and forth, they thought that Firestar was Mary Jane because it's a hot redhead with fire powers, but it's not. But
no.
I do find it that she's so young in this, where she was in college in our youth when we watched the cartoon. I loved that cartoon.
Yeah. I did. That was right in my wheelhouse back then. Mm-hmm. Definitely that and the Super Friends. Are you kidding me? And yeah, those two. I think because of Spidey's Amazing Friends, that was my first introduction to the X-Men. I remember there being an episode that was X-Men centric. You got Professor X, Cyclops, Storm, a few others. So that when I saw the comic book on the newsstand or the comic book rack at the grocery store, I was like, I remember them from Spidey's Amazing Friends. Let me pick up this Uncanny X-Men issue, and then a few years later you get Mutant Massacre. So thanks Spidey's Amazing Friends.
Well, that's also where I learned that the Juggernaut is Professor X's stepbrother or half brother. I can't remember.
I never remember.
They have a familial connection.
They do, like a lot of characters do in the X family. By the way,
well, Juggernaut's not he's not a mutant.
Sure, but he's part. I feel like he's part of the X universe.
He can be just because he was in Deadpool. And he's been in mutant movies. That's his helmet gives him the power, right? Or something. He gets something.
Know.
All right, that's
fine.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
No, but there's again a lot going on. Miles Warren Jack. Oh, let's go back to when he resurrects Kane.
I have that panel too.
What the? Okay, so this is another clone that was dead and.
Okay. Yes, Kane was dead. Kane seems born to die. I'm just gonna. He and Ben Reilly, the clones seem born to die, because you know how some comic book fans. Why don't you kill off superheroes? I loved that during this. At one point, one of the big battles going on, and somebody looks up. He says, some third-rate guy goes, "This is kind of like one of those events where a guy like me dies."
It's Gravity. Gravity says that. I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. He's like, no, we'll be fine. He's like, no. This is kind of like where a guy like me dies.
Yeah, you're the red shirt, man. You're the freaking red shirt in this comic book.
I love those kind of nods to stuff. So Kane, I don't know Kane's backstory. He appeared at some point, according to the Jackal, he was his first clone, that his broken one, and he didn't work as well. So maybe he was Peter Parker's first clone. Okay. He has major anger issues. He classically wants to kill Ben Reilly. He has shown up recently. He showed up at some point trying to kill Peter Parker, thinking he was Ben Reilly, the Spider-Man that took over.
Yeah.
The one that was the Scarlet Spider, he tried to kill Peter in lots of places. So he resurrects him, and I absolutely loved this panel, and because I screenshot it too, because it amused the hell out of me. You're thinking this is the Jackal talking to a naked Kane in the rain on grass. You're thinking, what kind of dad gives his long-lost son drugs 20 seconds into their reunion? I'll tell you what kind. Best dad ever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so this comic book is not going to be approved by the Comics Authority either.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Best dad ever. That also made me think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Did you watch the first couple of seasons?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you remember Sky's dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Best day ever.
Mm-hmm.
Best dad. I was like, oh man, that's yeah. And this was obviously, was that before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't know.
I have no
2011.
idea. 2011.
It had to be. Yeah, had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I just loved that. That cracked me up. There was a lot of fun things in this comic.
I was gonna I did not take good enough notes. I did write down the Spidey's Amazing Friends. The poker scene was fun. I wrote down you beat me to it also on Ben Grimm, the Thing, doing the whole hey that's a Spider Woman thing, and Spider Woman being right there. To that point, again, better than me because you read more Spider-Man, or have for sure. Again, observing the Spider fandom from afar, Dan Slott. There's a lot of people that don't like Dan Slott's run, albeit a very long run on Spider-Man. And do you have any reasons why there's some people, besides there just being bad fans, that just don't like it?
I don't. I'm not going to say they're being bad fans. I don't. You like things the way you like things. You being the you. If you don't care, if it's not, I've said this before. I don't think something is necessarily bad because I don't like it. I think things are bad sometimes because they're massively misogynist, and I still loved the comic anyway. Anyway, yeah, I'm back on my shit. So.
No,
but what I'm saying though is yes, a lot of it had to do, I think, with the whole thing going on with Peter Parker and the Superior Spider-Man. A lot of it had to do with the fact that he started out working at Horizon. Things were going well in his life. There's a lot of people that feel Peter Parker has to be absolutely destitute, poor, and everything awful happening to him all the time. And
he's Charlie Brown. He's a Charlie Brown of the Marvel Universe.
He is. And Dan Slott built him up and built him up and built him up and built him up. And then when Dan Slott left, he tore it all the fuck down. And I mean, he just bottomed him the fuck out. It was just deteriorating and made him do it to himself.
Okay.
And
so he did it on purpose.
Oh, he did it, and he explained why. He said when you leave a run like this, you have to give the new writer back to the basic so they can do it over again. When you're working with one of these characters, you can't go too far off of who they are, because this is what we want, what we expect. It's why you can get away with more things in a smaller book with an ancillary character, because there is not this, well, Peter Parker has to be destitute, poor, and married to Mary Jane. Okay, I think he should be married to Mary Jane personally, but that's just my old thing, because they got married when I was doing it. I'm not going to live or die on that horse. Great scene too. They're on the Empire State Building. They are fighting the big things. He has figured out how he's going to save everybody using Dr. Octopus's tech and a thing, and they're doing it. And they're talking as they're both fighting the monsters, and he's excited, and real quietly, Mary Jane goes, "I love you." And he goes, "What?" She's like, "Nothing. What did you say?"
No, huh? What?
Because that was another thing he did. Carly is going to leave him. They're going to start hanging out a little bit together again. And this is, after a brand new day, they evidently had You find out that all they did was get rid of the marriage. They were still together all this time.
Gotcha.
Pretty much everything that happened to them. They just didn't get married because he didn't show up for the wedding because he got knocked out. That was when I picked up the comics again. I was actually reading those again, so I got to read that. And it led into she showed back up, and then they sat down and discussed it, and that's how we got the backstory on why they stopped seeing each other again. So he brings them together, and then they're hanging out with each other again, and then he gets taken over by Dr. Octopus.
Of
And
course.
that destroys it because
It-
Doc Ock is a monster. Although he had a
He's a-
good arc in it. He has.
He's the bad guy. He's
Yes.
a bad guy.
He is.
Going back to the whole thing about the fandom, here's not that there's bad fans, but look, like what you like, don't like what you don't like. I guess my big gripe is because I'm going to gripe about the gripers. Hey, if you don't like it, just stop reading it. Don't read it. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops like some fans feel emboldened or that it's necessary to go on YouTube and tear up comic books they don't like or talk about certain movies that they think have destroyed the character that they grew up with in the 70s or 80s. Okay, we get it. You didn't like it, but then move on. Find something else, or go rewatch what you like, or reread what you like, or find a new bag. That's my big thing. Is like, look, you're spending so much time being negative. Go find something to be positive about.
I don't disagree with you on that. My point on this is sometimes when I would be very upset if they killed off Spider-Man completely. I'm setting the parameters of my fandom, and I would be upset. Now, I would think it was like I said, when they did Superior Spider-Man, I said, hey, that sounds really interesting. And he'll be that way forever. I'm like, that sounds like bullshit.
Just like Thor wasn't a frog forever, or, Jane Foster wasn't Thor forever.
Yeah, Jane Foster wasn't Thor forever, which is a damn shame because she made a hell of a Thor. I can't wait for Thor Love and Thunder.
Yeah, that should be good too.
Great. I mean, they don't even have to change the name for the porn version.
Oh, damn! You're okay. God, you are sexed up, Charles, tonight, aren't you?
I am so sexual today. Hey, you're the one that was talking about me not wearing pants. Who's the one?
Yeah. Well, hey, you're the one that confirmed it, so there's that too.
I have neither denied nor confirmed that.
Exactly. I want to note. I know there's probably more to talk about. I did like the appearance of Cloak and Dagger. Mm-hmm. That was a comic book and characters in my wheelhouse in the 80s that I picked up a lot of in Strange Tales. They had a comic book there for a while that it was Cloak and Dagger and Doctor Strange. I picked up the first, I don't know how many issues of that, and that was fun to see them in action again, just albeit briefly. I just wanted to say that.
No, Cloak and Dagger were fun. I've always liked them. Although I have not watched the Cloak and Dagger show on Hulu.
I haven't either. I don't think that's aimed at our demographic, Charles, because it seems like a teenage angst thing.
I love teenage angst things.
Well, there you go.
That was else? The other when he's resurrecting, the Jackal is resurrecting Kane. There's a panel, and he's yelling, "Everybody must get cloned."
Yes. Oh my God. No, there's a lot of fun parts and a lot of good writing. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, they're telling Ben Grimm to stop fighting. Somebody yells out, "You stand relieved. Take a clobbering timeout." That's an order.
Yeah.
That's some fun stuff.
And you get appearances by the X-Men, albeit briefly. You got Gambit, Emma Frost, and Storm helping out Wolverine at one point. So you get a little of everybody, and of course Captain America is turned into, unbeknownst to us, one of the big bad King Spiders.
Yeah, he's turned into the King Spider. So Jackal turns not Venom. Jackal turns
Kane
into one of these spider creatures, and the Queen has made him turn Captain America into this other king thing, and that's kind of where Venom kicks in, because Venom finds out, it goes to fight this thing, and they find out that it's Captain America, so they send Flash Thompson using the Venom suit to become that back in, and that's undercover, and that I don't remember, how did Kane end up cured?
Oh man, there's a fight where Peter's going to be doused, but instead the cure is put in maybe Kane.
Oh, that's right, because he goes in to kill, and he gets and it doesn't remove his spider powers, but
It
what it
rem-
does is it removes everything it turns him back into basically Peter Parker with long hair.
right.
So there's two.
90s grunge Peter Parker.
Yes, he's a little thicker. He's rough and tumble Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So that is another panel that I saved because it is brilliant. Everybody's coming to knock on the door, and
Oh, that's right.
the two of them are in there, and I think Kane is naked, and Peter is dressed as Spider-Man, and it would be really hard for him to explain why all of a sudden Peter Parker has long hair. So he gives him the costume, and Peter Parker's in his underwear, and the door opens, and he goes, "Hey, MJ, guys, I'm just hanging with my pal Spidey. Say something." And Kane, dressed as Spider-Man, goes, "Wallop and web snappers."
Yeah, trying to be, I guess, jokey like Spider-Man.
Yes. And that's a really nice callback because people are like, why is Peter in his underwear? And because earlier when he becomes at Horizon Lab, he's storing all of his Spider-Man stuff there. He's gotten a way to sneak himself in and out. And he gets caught once, and somebody's coming in to see him. Well, we got to check on him, and so he manages to shuck the Spider-Man stuff, and he's stark naked, and he puts headphones on so he can pretend he ignored because they forced the door open with the override code. Max, the runs the think tank, comes in, and there he is, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what's?" He's like, "Oh well, I do my best work when I'm in my all together."
I like to work naked.
Yeah.
No, I do remember. Yeah, that was good. Going back a couple thoughts again with Cap and the backstory with the Queen, who is Ariana Soria, who is a super soldier, throwaway character, not character, throwaway because she goes kind of crazy apparently, and they try to subdue her and put her away forever. And of course, she gets out, and her and Cap used to apparently be lovers
In the nighttime.
back way when. And guess what? She's a scorned lover and really wants to take her pound of flesh and wants him to be her Spider King, and then he of course gets de-spidered and is there to help save the day at the end. But the backstory, they do a good job explaining it, but I'm like, I was trying to think back. I had never heard of this person. I don't know if this is all of your just brought up in this arc or what.
I legit was planning this time because every time I've read it, I've thought I need to dig through because they give you the comics it's in. And I'm like, I should dig through Unlimited and I should read those just because I don't know anything about this. And then I did not have the time to do that for this podcast because I did think about it. I was like, that seems like a lot of fun. But then I was thinking about the dates when they wrote that. And I'm like, the synopsis is probably more fun than the actual comics are.
Yeah.
That seems like something that could use an update and it would probably be great. But
Yeah.
Just because the synopsis was pretty fun because she's a woman super soldier. And remember, pretty much any super soldier that was not Cap had major, major problems.
It didn't turn out well for them.
Yeah,
Generally speaking, it did not go well.
Yeah.
The other thing that you can enlighten me and our listeners, all of you out there, the whole spider web, the web of life thing, Madam Spider. When I was reading the little Spider-Man I read back in the 80s, mostly, or late 70s, barely, but mostly 80s, spider web, the whole...
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about that.
The web of life wasn't really anything back then.
Okay.
That didn't really come up. That seems to be... They did some updating kind of with the spider thing with... And I can't remember the name of the character.
Madam Web?
No.
Okay.
Peter meets a older gentleman. It may be Gideon. I don't know. That has spider powers. And he will come back, or some of the stuff he goes into is that they're totems. Their spider powers make them totems of the spider god, Anansi.
Okay.
So you know the African spider god. That's that kind of idea that they're totems of that particular. All of these spiders powered people are that, and that kind of leads into the web of life is basically what reaches out across the multiverse is the web of life, and each different reality is connected by this web. And Madam Web can see the future on it. She can manipulate and feel the ripples through time. I suspect by see the future what she's doing, and this is just my supposition right now because I don't do a lot of thinking about this stuff. I just read the comics. The supposition is that she's looking at different realities, so she's got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen in this one because she can see where they're breaking off and creating what's it called from the variance.
Oh,
is
yeah.
is
Oh,
it
variance.
creates
There you go.
variance. Yeah, so she can see that. That's the whole idea. Okay, this is what's going to happen here, and can react to it going forward. Or she can see multiple futures, i.e., and then she can try to manipulate it so her reality is the one that has the future that she wants in it. Now, I don't know if that they're necessarily going into that, but that's kind of what the web of life is. It's something that just binds everything together. And you'll get more into that in the Spider-Verse because the web of life is very important. And the whole totem thing is very important in the Spider-Verse. And for those of you listening at home, when
Gotcha,
I
Charles.
wrote,
You went dead there. Can you hear me?
oh yeah, okay, I can hear you.
You went dead there for a second. Say that.
Okay.
Say that last part again. Your bar went down too.
Oh, did it? Because
Yeah, it just went dead there for like not even 5 seconds.
I'm okay. I don't know what I was saying. I was talking about the web of life is going to come back in Spider-Verse. It's going to be very important. So is the idea of totems. And I was going to tell everyone listening at home that when I typed in the episode to record this, to save this little file, I accidentally put JCTC episode 10 Spider-Verse and Saga. We're not talking about the Spider-Verse, although I have talked about Spider-Verse a lot without really saying anything about it.
Well, in the Web of Life, the reason I bring that up is they did do an okay job, I think, very quickly and concisely talking about it in the context of Madam Web's appearances in this story. It made me think of kind of the Speed Force a little bit. Different, but
Sure.
same
Yeah.
kind of thing. It was the same kind of overarching thing that, or just the force that binds and ties everything together.
What magic device can we have to explain the powers and certain things that go on in this reality? So, yes.
But so at the end, Pete saves the day, like you said with Doc Ock's stuff, and gets is able to transmit or inoculate or distribute the
vaccine.
cure, the vaccination to 1.6 million people.
Yeah, some huge number of people who then wake up the next morning stark freaking naked.
Most of them, yes,
Most
and a
of
lot of
them
them
completely
Avengers, like
Yes.
like Black Panther, like Hawkeye, yeah.
I'm going to my screenshots. There's a scene where they're standing there. It's Hawkeye, Black Panther, Misty Knight, and is it Carly maybe hiding in the background and they're talking.
Right.
And I think Misty Knight is saying, I know it's all very arbitrary, isn't it? And Black Panther says, true, my beard is gone, but my hair is the same length.
And yeah, then Barton says something like, "Yeah, but
guys, we live in a world where Hulk grows 10 times his size and his pants stay on. Roll with it."
Yes, exactly,
And so,
exactly.
somebody in during this going on appeared was naked but had their glasses on, and they're like, "Why do I have my glass? Was I a giant spider with glasses?"
With glasses, exactly, with glasses, but you were a giant spider.
So again, I really enjoy the little comic book, the outside comic book conversations that we have about silliness. They're having them in comic.
Yeah,
It's the turn.
almost breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, but not, because this is
But
a
not.
reality that you would, if that were your reality, you would say, "Hey, why? Wait, what? How did we? What?"
Right. No, it was good. It was fun. Any other takeaways or things you want to jump in on or touch on or make sure to point out? Because I have one more not big one, but one more that I think is interesting.
Okay, I wrote down just one thing, which you know how I do the in which. I preloaded one on my pad. It says, "In which Charles rambles on about Spider-Man for an hour."
Oh, you didn't ramble much.
But we have been we're at an hour at this point. So
Sudite. The one thing I was going to point out, not necessarily about the story. Again, good story, fun. If you like Spider-Man and haven't read this, it's fun. And I was worried diving into something from 2011, which is when this started, I believe. I was going to be so lost. They did a really good job of like I said, giving a quick synopsis of where we're at with each character and why we're where we are. And
It's Stan Lee. That is the Marvel way, is Stan Lee's way.
it's so good.
Every comic book could be someone's first.
Exactly. And this is case in point. Case in point. Very tangent but related. This being that it's an island infected and having to be quarantined made me think of a 2-issue run on Uncanny X-Men back in the 80s, issues number 190 and 191, where this wizard sorcerer called Cullen Gath takes over the island. And let me say this, to the point where this reminded me so much of it that after I read this, I immediately went and reread those 2 issues. And if you haven't read it, Charles, I think you'd enjoy it because even though it's in Uncanny X-Men, Cullen Gath is out to get Spidey because Spidey, did away with him and vanquished him before. Cullen Gath puts a spell over all of Manhattan that regresses it back to like a Middle Ages type setting. And you got Cap, and you got some of the X-Men, and some of the New Mutants, and Spidey's the only one that knows what's going on. That's not, everybody else thinks it's back in olden times, and cars are turned into chariots drawn by horses, guns are turned into swords, and etc. A tight 2-issue arc. And speaking of the whole Marvel storytelling, a very tight 2 issues where you can get in and out, and it's just a fun,
Okay.
cool story with a beginning, middle, and end.
What are the issues?
190 and 191.
190 and
And
191.
I'm not suggesting that for next time, but I think you'd
no,
enjoy
no,
it.
no. I'm writing it down because it sounds like it's fun. I will read it.
And for my likes,
And we can even talk about it for 10 minutes if I read it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It was fun, but it did remind me when I read this and realized, Spider Island. Duh, I should have known, but it was quarantined. It was very interesting, different, vastly different, but some.
Yeah, there
parallels.
wasn't a lot of time travel in this.
No. Well, it wasn't time travel. It's just that only Manhattan was regressed back to this time. Everything else outside Manhattan was normal. Read it. You'd like it, I think.
It sounds like it based on the synopsis.
Yeah. So there's that. Ready to talk about a little Saga? Saga, 2012. So one time, is this the first time I've suggested something that was slightly newer than you? Albeit
Absolutely.
not even a year. I didn't look at the month. Image Comics, Brian K. Vaughan, who also did
Why the Last Man?
Why the Last Man that we just talked about.
And the
This
answer
is his.
And the answer is, why not The Last Man?
Why not? Why not, Charles? I don't know if you want to take a shot at a synopsis or summary. Do you want me to take a shot at it?
Saga. Star-crossed lovers have a child. Interstellar war. Battle for the baby.
Yeah, there you go. A space opera.
Oh, absolutely. Swords and magic. Swords,
Yeah.
guns, and magic. And aliens. Swords, guns, magic, and aliens. Swords, guns, magic, aliens. Wait, I'll come back again. No one ever expects swords, guns.
And robot royalty.
Robot royalty. Are they robots? I couldn't get that. It's a giant. It's a body with a
Monitor.
monitored head, and they be fucking in this. They be fucking. See, don't be pitching they all fucking all over the place, and then say,
They're
oh,
robots that
Charles,
like to get it on.
Oh, Charles, you're so sexual. Oh, settle down.
Yeah, I'm the one that suggested this, and
Yes.
yeah, they're getting it on. So you have Alana is the female protagonist that is having. You intro is her giving birth to who will eventually be the baby Hazel. She's winged from the planet Wreath. The star-crossed lover, husband, father of Hazel is Marco with horns. He is from the moon of Wreath. No, Wreath is the moon. I'm sorry. Landfall is the planet. Atlanta's from Landfall, the planet. Marco's from the. It makes sense. The Wreath is the moon. Marco's from there. He's got horns and magic, very magic-y based.
And I won't remember any of that again after you've said that.
Okay.
I didn't
Well,
remember it before. Not how my brain works.
And apparently they are not happy. These two planets, this planet and moon, have been in a long, protracted.
Yeah, they've been fighting forever. We don't know why they're fighting, and they just keep fighting. A matter of fact, it's alluded to that there's no good guy or bad guy in this. It's just gone on so long that that's just what they do. And they go to different planets and they fight. They fight. That's all that happens.
And she's giving birth on this planet Cleve that is far flung from where Landfall and Wreath are, and that's where they're giving birth, and that's where the story starts. And then they're trying to get the baby.
Well, they're giving birth in like a garage.
Yeah, a mechanic shop.
A mechanic shop. That's like a garage.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. A mechanic shop, Charles, not a garage. Come on. Come on.
I mean, it literally had like a garage door in it, but okay. Thanks, Hoff.
I'm joking. Yeah,
no, I know.
Sorry.
I know. I was joking on that as well. No, but they're doing that. They're by themselves because he evidently was a prisoner of whomever the other side, and she was one of the guards.
Yeah.
And at this point, we don't know if they were lovers in the nighttime before they were there, but they're definitely lovers in the nighttime now.
Yeah. And she's the coalition. I did write that down. The coalition is what she's a part of, I believe, which is what that cyborgy monitor-headed guy number four is prince of the coalition, apparently, of some such. And they don't like the fact that those two one from Wreath and one from Landfall have had a baby, but they want them killed, but they want the baby.
Yeah, they don't
want the baby killed. And so they get these.
I'm looking forward to finding out why. Actually.
Is there a prophecy involved? I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, we don't. We were at volume 1. I mean, you could have kept Redding. You could have kept Redding. That's how words work. You could have kept Redding. Wow. You could. I was gonna make fun of you and all the volumes you bought without ever reading many years ago, but instead I talk like an idiot. So now the joke is me.
Oh, and so the coalition also, besides using their armed forces to go after them, they employ some freelancers. They call them but bounty hunters.
Oh yeah, bounty hunters.
You got the Will and the Stalk going after Alana and Marco and their kiddo Hazel. Then you see the Will go to some pleasure planet, and that turns out really ugly because there's.
Oh my lord, that was horrific.
That turned dark fast.
That disturbed me.
It was disturbing. There's a kid. There's like a 9-year-old that's a prostitute, but not forced, obviously. And he's like, nope. And she's coming with me. And
he kills the man that offers her to him. He just kills him, and then he's taking her out. And then it turns out when the young lady's owner shows up, that if she leaves the planet, she dies. It's something, we put it in their system. She's here. You can't do a thing about it. So you're killing her if you take her out.
So then he's agonizing about how to fix it.
Yeah. That might actually be the better idea. Let her. I mean, so what do you leave a 9-year-old to? I
don't know.
I mean, that's
really fucked up.
Yeah, that's about the worst. Yeah, I was just like, holy crap! I almost stopped reading at that point. I legit almost did, because I'm like, oh my god, there are not enough alien titties in this and there were a lot of alien titties in this.
There are. A lot of it's breastfeeding too, though.
Yeah, well,
but there are some non.
Well, no, the stalk.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's just but she's also like 8-legged or something.
Hey, don't judge. There's no kink shaming.
Is that legism?
No kink shaming. Hey, I'm the one that's a Spider-Man fan.
There you go. So on Cleve, apparently when the populace dies and is decimated, they turn into ghosts. I thought that was cool.
I did think that was cool, except, as they said, it's kind of a crappy existence.
Yeah, and this poor kid that Alana and Marco end up befriending.
Well, half a kid.
Exactly, because she stepped on a freaking mine. And so her ghost, for some reason, that kind of sucks that as a ghost, you turn into a ghost as you were left in life, and since she lost her bottom half, she's just torso up.
Yeah, evidently.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks. But she was also like the oldest of 7 kids. So she's telling Alana, you don't know jack about taking care. You need me. You really need me around. I need to help you because the baby needs this, or the baby needs you. Don't you know? You don't know what you're doing. You're an only child.
But and also to get them off the planet, she's going to help them, but she needs to bond with somebody that's born on the planet.
Yes,
somebody of Cleve, which is the baby.
Yep.
And they're like, I don't know about this. You're a weird ghost girl, but okay. And they get them to the ship to get them off the planet, which is a wooden ship.
Yeah.
that is kind of sentient, maybe.
Yeah, it seems sentient because it decides where it takes you. I liked that
Right.
idea. I really did like that idea. It's a sentient ship, but you had to give something up in order to get it.
Correct.
And what he gives up is his magic sword, which he had promised never to practice violence again, and then he was kind of forced into it during this arc. And so
Yeah.
he gives up his sword. He says, if you have a sword, you'll always find a way to use it. So he breaks it and leaves it, and that's when the sentient tree ship opens up and accepts them into its sappy inside.
Right. A very, very. There's like an atrium, and
Yes.
it's very organic. I mean, it's a
Well, yes,
living
it's a
ship.
tree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a living ship. Speaking of, which made me think of, did you ever watch the sci-fi show Farscape?
No, I didn't.
Kind of like a Buck Rogers, this astronaut's flung across the galaxy and ends up with some random different aliens on the run from a evil force that wants him dead, and there's a sentient ship in that. That made me think of that. It's,
Oh, okay.
and a lot of the puppetry is done by, I think it's a Jim Henson Company, because
Oh,
it's
cool.
not it's old school. It's not CGI, and that's back from like the late '90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Friends of mine, Andy and Kelly. In fact, I stayed with them when I first moved to Dallas in 2000 for about a month there. They turned me on to the show, and it made me immediately think of that ship, and I'm blanking on the name of the ship from that. But yeah, sentient ship in that too, by the way, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But anyways, back to Saga. 6 issues, but a pretty tight, quick read of 6 issues, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, I got through it pretty quick. I did not read further just so I didn't get. I'm going to read further because I enjoyed it. So I'm going to continue reading it because it really left us. Oh man, so many questions unanswered. So many questions that they didn't even allude to. But there's going to be a lot of fun because evidently you're not supposed to kill freelancers. Yet the prince of
Robot Prince?
yeah, the robot prince kills the stalk, and it turns out that the will still loves the stalk, and he finds out, and he just promises him he's going to kill him.
And I think it's one of those, like, I'm going to kill you and everybody you ever known and loved.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's yeah. I'm burning you and your life down to the ground. You're done. You killed the only 8-legged, no-armed woman I've ever loved. She didn't have arms, right?
I think she maybe had arms.
Oh,
No?
okay. I'm just thinking in my head. I don't know. I was just staring at
Okay.
the weird alien boobies.
There is, just
I was very
for our
distracted
listeners
by
at home,
by the weird
this is
alien
not,
boobies.
probably not for youngsters. This is definitely an adult comic book.
Yes, it's not like
and-
Spider-Man where they just had creepy Ben Grimm, and
Yeah.
dude was
It was creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Peter-
Well, hey,
Peter,
if you were made of rock for as many years as he had,
Yeah.
maybe you'd go a little loony a little bit.
He's rock
maybe.
hard. He's rock hard in the presence of men.
Oh gosh. You're better than that, but no. I was gonna say you're better than that, but you're no.
Well,
That's
proven.
that's about right.
We
That's about right.
proved that that's actually a they did a Fantastic Four comic that was where the premise was, and I sent you and Caesar the cover that it said that rock hard in the presence of men a while back, but it was a what was it exactly? The idea was that one of the people that knew Stan Lee lived next door to a family, and that's where they got the idea for Fantastic Four. So it's all these characters if they were real and not the Fantastic Four. So
okay.
including Ben Grimm and a woman and her much younger brother and a scientist that so that was
Okay.
where I got that. So it was kind of it was an inside joke with me.
Gotcha.
My nerdery runs rampant.
It does.
Yeah.
It really, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Hey, another storytelling device that I thought was cool was that the narrator of this story is the baby.
Yes.
As an older.
Yes.
I think at one
Obviously
point
as
it
an
says she
adult.
grows old.
Yeah. Yeah. She lives through all this.
Yes.
And she's
so
nothing special. I'll be curious to see if that's true. The nothing special.
I'm betting she's
Yeah.
special.
I think she's humble. I think she's humble because there's
I
no
bet.
point. There's got to be something special going on because they all want the baby.
Right.
I mean, maybe they just think she'll taste good.
Yeah,
If they
because-
think these aliens, these cross species breed, makes a particularly delicious baby.
Well, and speaking of the baby, the baby's born with wings and horns,
Oh,
correct?
yes.
And at the very beginning, they talk about. I've noted. Made a note of this because the mom is the one with the wings, and she says, "Oh, we got to do the wing bleeding."
Oh,
And
yeah.
he says, "Oh, and we're not doing any of that religious bullshit.
Yeah.
That's
I thought we
you're
were.
gonna
Yeah, I thought we were
mutilate.
beyond that. And she's like, "Well, it's tradition." Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna mutilate the baby," which of course made me immediately think of circumcisions and stuff like that. Mutilating a baby. I don't know. I thought that was cool that they just kind of
Was
put that in there.
was that a rubber chicken?
Yeah, it's a rubber chicken.
Okay. I know. I just saw it go by. Okay.
Yeah,
I know. I know.
I
No, it was
playing with
funny.
it.
I was like, because you gave me one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
It's from Svengoolie. Everybody, I love Svengoolie. If you get me TV, I'm an ardent. Me and Julie are an ardent watchers of the Saturday Night Svengoolie. They show bad. They show sometimes bad, sometimes okay old scary movies, which are fun. So tangent there. What else? There's a narration thing. Oh, at the very end. So like you were telling everybody, or giving the synopsis of at the end to get access to the sentient wooden spaceship. Marco has to sacrifice a sword
Well,
that is apparently
you have to sacrifice something.
something.
Yes.
Well, he sacrifices his sword, which apparently
Is
goes
a
back,
yeah, it's a family heirloom. His magic sword is a family heirloom.
and when he breaks it, his parents show up,
Yes.
and they immediately aren't. Well, they immediately aren't happy.
Yes.
And Hazel's there, and Mom shunts Hazel away. And Marco and Alana are like, "Hey, what'd you do to our babysitter?" And Marco immediately uses his magic to go after her. Mom goes at, and that's the cliffhanger. Like, oh no, is Hazel dead? Of course, probably not. But you
Wait,
don't know.
I thought Hazel was the baby.
I'm sorry, not Hazel. Isabel. Isabel's the
Okay,
babysitter.
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm
yeah,
so
Shunt's
sorry.
I was like, wait, no.
Isabel-
What
Isabel's the
calms
babysitter.
them down is they've got the baby because it's grandparents, and the Hazel, the baby, then says, and that's when I met my grandparents.
Yeah, yeah. And Grandma immediately shunts her babysitter, her ghost babysitter, Isabel. Sorry, just because they have Z sounds in them, I'm confusing them. I guess
That's
I don't
fine.
know. Marco goes after Isabel. Grandma, Marco's mom, follows him, and that's a cliffhanger we're left at. Because
Yeah.
then I'm worried. Speaking of, did I read more? I did because I was worried about Isabel, and I wanted to see what happened to Isabel. So I did read
wasn't.
on
Okay, well, that's fine. Please don't spoil it for me, Mister. I
well,
need to
you-
spoil.
it. I'm not going to spoil that
I
because
mean, sure?
there's some hijinks.
Okay, because you just can't help it. You're
If
like
it's something we've read, I'm going to talk about it. You haven't read the next volume, but you should.
you're all Tommy boy at times with that. It's all hyped up
So-
on your.
Hey, did you know in the movie Psycho, there's no mom, she's dead. It's Norman Bates the whole time.
I did know that.
Oh, okay. I
I've
was
seen
trying
the
to
movie.
spoil something else.
I've seen the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I was more joking about it because you're so quick. I want to build to it, and you're just like, nope, 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 nope. We're doing it now. We're doing it in the first minute and a half of the podcast. If there is any kind of cliffhanger, I'm getting it out there in the open. I want to talk about that.
Darth Vader's Luke's father. Did you know that?
Well, since I just finished editing last podcast where we did this bit.
I know. I'm sorry.
I mean, I literally just finished editing yesterday, so it would drop today. We're recording this one on September 17th, Friday, September 17th, and it's the same day that episode 9 dropped. So,
Yeah.
yes, I am
Hey.
very much aware of that.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, this one. Look, it's okay that we spent a lot more time on Spider Island. There was a lot more going on. This was pretty, like I said, a pretty fun at times, humorous at times, very dark at times, very serious at times. Space opera love story, and I liked it.
Okay. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to keep reading. Yes. Brian
Cool.
K. Vaughan's a very good writer.
I mean, this guy might have something.
Yeah.
He
might have a future.
He might do okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Art.
Kid's
on
got
this one.
chops.
Art, I didn't mention art on this one, and I meant to. It's by Fiona Staples. And very well done. I like the art.
Yeah, the art was great. It worked really well with what's going on. It had a lot of the sword and sorcery magic that it needed.
And not a lot is said about the coloring. The colors in this are nice.
I
and
did
cool.
not notice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, dude. I forget, man. I forget.
Dude, I'm
Shit.
just kidding. I just want to stay quiet when you say something like that. But it's so much fun to say.
Because I feel bad, yeah. Because
Why do you
everybody,
feel bad?
I don't know, because you're colorblind. And
Okay.
I'm not. I didn't do it on purpose. Sorry, I forgot. I
I've never
literally
not
forgot.
been colorblind, so it's not like.
So cool. I'm glad you liked it. It won a lot of awards, apparently. Now that I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, Saga did back then. So there you go. Hey, well, I don't know if you have anything else about Saga, but we mentioned when we were trading texts. I don't even know if we've talked on the phone since the last podcast. Have we?
No.
Ha! That is too funny. We're saving the gold for y'all.
Yeah.
All of you listeners out there.
The gold.
Yeah. Well, maybe some tarnished silver.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We mentioned when we were trading texts that maybe we talk a little bit about the Hawkeye trailer.
Oh yeah, we did. I said we would mention the Hawkeye trailer, and I was glad you. I was going to when I had already seen it when Caesar posted about it or texted us about it. So I was going to say yes, and Hav had better have seen it by the time we do the podcast, because the last time I brought up two podcasts was and I mean, two major trailers had come out, and I mentioned them both, and I mentioned the one, and you're like, haven't seen it. I mentioned the other one, haven't seen it.
What is YouTube? I'm sorry. Could you? What is the internet?
I was just like, and I was so done with that podcast at that point, so I was letting it go. Yeah, I'm glad you remember that. So Hawkeye, all sorts of things were from that arc we saw. I've even watched a video and they talk more about it, but man, I've only watched it once and I caught some stuff. I mean, the whole bit with the arrows in the car.
In the car chase.
Yes,
in the car chase.
And they've got the tracksuit mafia that they had before, and it's bro, and they're having that car chase, that entire issue that took place in a car chase.
Yes.
I mean, it was incredible.
He's in a tuxedo at one point.
Yes,
remember that
because
part?
there's some sort of thing like the Madame Mask thing where they were going to go get the tape. There was something going on like that.
And he's tied up in a chair.
Yes.
And
she comes to rescue him.
Yes.
They drew great, including the font of the Hawkeye when it writes Hawkeye.
Yes.
That is right out of that comic book. It's Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's very cool. They know who butters their bread. Fanboys like us are.
Well, no,
no.
They know what the best arc of Hawkeye ever written was.
That's probably true.
And I mean, legitimately for now times going back, and it's a shame that this is a completely different type of Hawkeye, since this is not the beatdown. This is Family Man Hawkeye instead of I stole a bunch of drug money and bought a building Hawkeye from that.
And the John Wick with the dog Hawkeye. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, he's got some of that because he's got the whole going off to murder everyone during the blip. And that's going to come back to haunt him. I mean, the whole idea that she's wearing his costume and going off and doing that, I'll be fascinated to find out. One of the things I watched mentioned
that is Kate Bishop, right?
Oh yeah, that's Kate Bishop.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
The girl is Kate Bishop. Some people say I'm one of the world's greatest archers. So
or authors.
Some of the people say I'm one of the world's greatest archers, and his reply is one of those you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as I've been known to say on the podcast, Kate Bishop, the real Hawkeye. I do.
You have been known to say that.
I do really like that character in the comics. At least what they did in that same Hawkeye comic book when they went, and you didn't read that, but when they go to LA, when she goes to LA, and her LA arc is just wonderful. It's completely different from his, but completely the same. It's just different because she's a different character, and it draws it out with that. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
No, hey, that was a less than 2-minute trailer, and it was jam packed with, I think, a lot of stuff that, yes, I'm all in, ready for that to drop around Christmas time. Although something not having anything to do with the comic book we read, I want to see Steve Rogers the musical.
You know that has a lot to do with Spider-Man, the Spider-Man musical they did.
Failed.
My Lord, Steve Rogers the musical. Yeah. Somebody was talking about that they hope. I read somewhere, Lord, I hope they actually have it. I would love them to release if they did it. Release that. They were coming up with, well, what song should be in it? It should, and then they were making fun of the Spider-Man musical, talking about some of the songs in that were evidently just, why is it a song about whatever it was? I can't even remember.
Didn't U2 do the music for that musical?
The Spider-Man musical? I don't know.
In the Spider-Man musical,
I don't know.
There was a Spider.
There
For
was a
some reason
Spider-Man
that
musical. Literally, people kept getting injured for the Spider-Man. They kept having to recast because they kept getting injured, like really, really, really bad. Because the harnessing and the stuff they were trying to do on stage was not working safely.
oh no,
Yes.
that's not good. Yeah, lyrics by Bono and the Edge. I knew it. For some reason, that stood out of my head.
Well, that I can see why that would, because I probably will never forget that now.
Yeah, well, because they had such great success with that one song they did for that Batman movie. They were like, "Hey, let's do a whole musical." So no, I just we talked about it. I just want not. I don't need to do a deep. There's not much to do a deep dive on. I did want to mention it since we talked about it.
Yeah, no, I told you we were going to, and you remembered that I told you that, so that's awesome.
It's not just a hat rack.
Yeah, I've
This noggin. So
okay.
yeah, hey. So look, we've that's a pretty good podcast that we had there. Miss me and you talking. Not to float my own boat or our own boats, but I'm gonna.
Okay, I enjoyed it. I do think we should bring up to the listeners that y'all can contact us. Evidently, I don't think anybody that listens knows we have an email you can reach us at. Hav and Charles Talk Comics at gmail.com. That's Hav and Charles Talk Comics at gmail.com. It's all spelled out. It's really easy.
JAVAND Charles Talk Comics at gmail.com. Send us a bloody email, people.
You're
just
not,
one. You just do test. I dare somebody just to send test.
You're not gonna try to spell my name.
I don't think your name needs as much spelling as
I
mine.
know.
Charles,
I just had fun with that. You JAVAND.
Yeah. Come on.
Charles
Come on,
Talk
people.
Comics. I'm like, wait, but I was gonna say it's written
then
on the screen there.
It's J and then our Twitter handle for the podcast is J and C, and is spelled out.
Yeah.
Talk Comics.
Talk
right?
Comics. Yes.
And then of course I'm Hav Gonzo tweets, and you're
At Herring Red Reel. At it's Herring Red Reel because somebody got my Herring Red before I did. At Herring Red Reel.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, no, that's
How
how I
dare
feel
they.
about it. Well, I'm irritated because they don't tweet. It's just sitting there. That's
Yeah,
why.
that is irritating.
Yeah, I'm like I don't think they have no likes. They have no. I'm like, why do you have my handle?
Right.
Jerk faces.
Bad people, man.
Yeah. Well, I doubt it. I'm sure they're wonderful.
What to read next time, Charles? What to read?
Well, you tell me first. What do you got?
I let me give you. Speaking of lists,
No,
I like making lists.
don't read your list again.
No, it's not the whole list. I was going back and forth for some reason. Since you did a Spider-Man, and that's your favorite. I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not doing a Cyclops thing. One of my favorite characters growing up was Batman. So, in from my wheelhouse of the '80s, I'm going to ask you to read Batman: 10 Nights of the Beast. It's on DC Unlimited. The issue numbers I thought I wrote down, but I did not. But I will get them to you. It's a 4-issue, it's not limited series, but it's this 4-issue arc in the Batman title back then.
Okay. And since then that'll make it easy. I was thinking I might do this, but I will do this to have something just completely different. Because I'm sure that's going to be kind of heavy because it's Batman 10 Nights of the Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little, yeah.
So-
It's dark, not super dark. It's not like the Killing Joke dark, but it's pretty heavy.
Yeah,
Somewhat.
okay. So we're going
If
to...
memory serves.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm just saying it's Batman and it's called 10 Nights of the Beast. It's not... I'm going to contrast this with Gwenpool.
Oh, good. Because you know
Yes.
what? You've talked this up so long, and
I
I've
know.
heard nothing but good things.
Well, no, it's just fun. Oh, it's so fun. It's light, frothy fun.
And is that just like the first arc of
let me.
Gwenpool proper?
This is me. I told you before we started this, I didn't have something yet, and that's just been in the back of my head to read. So let's read Gwenpool. I'll give you an arc. I'll give you a few numbers, and we'll go from there. I was also thinking we didn't do themes.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't going to force it because I didn't put a lot of thought into it, and I couldn't think of much, if anything, that was really between the two. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have any thoughts off the top of your head.
I don't. I was just throwing it in there because we've been talking about themes, and I thought we would. If you have any ideas about themes listening at home, you can send us an email, and we'll read those emails in our email segment that doesn't exist because we don't get emails.
Yeah.
Hav and Charles Complaining About Emails is brought to you by the Public Library. The Public Library, where homeless people can access their email account.
And do other stuff in dark corners.
Hey, you know what? Actually, I shouldn't have made a joke about homeless people in the library. It is a really good place for them that does give them an opportunity to do a lot of things, like
Gosh darn it, you're right.
use the restroom, get online, find resources.
You know what? Shoot, very true. Okay.
So, no, I started it. I'm the asshole, and you just followed my lead. I'm sorry for being the lead asshole.
I did yes and the crap out of that, didn't I? Gosh darn it. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's about it. I want to thank all of you for listening. I want to thank Hav for joining me. I want Hav to make sure Julie is okay, because is she having a sneezing fit? Or
Yeah, everything's fine.
okay. All right. So thank you for joining us. It's been fun.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.